Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lisa and in this video we're going to talk through how I've completed this deer with polychromos pencils and the background with pan pastels. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and if you feel like you'd like to give this one a go, you can add me on Patreon, where this is a full real-time tutorial. You get given the line art, the reference photo, the color list, everything you need to complete this, along with the real-time tutorial. And on my website you can check out all of the tutorials that I have. There's a wide range of different animals there with different levels of difficulty, so for beginners and for more advanced artists as well. So let's get started first with the background. So for all of my Patreon members, I give all of the colours that I'm using through the whole step of the way, so you can see the way that I'm moving through this piece. So I went in with the top section doing the yellows and white sections, and then using the blues and greys to put in the middle section. I was happy with it at the time, but then when I put in the deer, I realized that it was all just a bit too light. So then we had to go through at the very end and resaturate all of these colors. So when I finished putting in all of the colors and doing a really good base of the background, I then went over with my tracing paper, cut out the deer that I originally used for the outline and put that over the pan pastel, because if you're putting your hand on the pan pastel while you're going, it will just come straight up. So I use this as a bit of a mask, so you don't smudge any of the work that you've put down. So I tackled this by putting in the eye, and then I went up to start doing the top of the head and the ear, but then realized it would probably be easier to go down and start with the nose and the mouth, so I went in and started to put that in. Then you can sort of just go through and start to connect everything with all of the fur and build it up really slowly, rather than tackling a really big piece of fur at the start. So for this brown sort of fur, I used the warm grey one as a base. I also went in with some of the beige red, which is a pinky colour, the burnt ochre, which is an orange colour, ivory, which is a really sort of creamy white colour, and then to get the darker sections in the fur, I used some of the violet. So using violet with orange, they are complementary colours, so this means that they work really well together, and mixing these two together will sort of make a grey tone, which is really great for all of the shadows, and using the purple next to the orange will really help that orange pop. So using these two colours together is great. And then the darker colours I use to build up the darker fur is the burnt umber, burnt sienna, black, and I also use some of the red violet. So this is a purpley red tone, which is really good to use with the burnt umber because it's sort of a darker brown, and you can add that reddish tone with the red violet. So one of the main focuses of this piece is the lighting and the shadows that you can see. So there are some really nice highlight sections on the edge of the deer. So at the start, I didn't put the pan pastels right up to the edge of the deer because I wanted to make sure that I kept that highlight section. But when you're putting your pencils down, it's really important to use that negative space method. So you're not putting any of your colors into the really highlighted section. So under the eye, above the eye, we want to keep these really, really light. And then on the edge of the ear and at the top, you really want to have a really light color so that it looks like the sun is hitting it, and it gives that really light sort of glowing section. So now that we've got a lot of the fur in on the face, we can go through and evaluate the tones. So you really want to make sure you're getting your shadows and dark and light colors in the right places. So this is what's going to make it look realistic. So when it comes to realism, it doesn't always matter about the color that you're using. If you're not getting the colors 100%, it's not going to make a big deal. But if you get your shadows and darker sections in the wrong places, then it's not going to look realistic. So making sure you have the darker areas really, really dark in the right places, and then the highlight sections really bright in the right places, this is what's going to make it work for you. So one way that I do this is by using Photoshop. I can take a photo of my piece sort of at the end and then put it up against the original photo to see where I need to go darker or lighter. Even putting your piece and the reference photo in black and white, you can sort of see where things need to be darker and where you might need to go a little bit lighter. Especially when it came to doing the chest area, there's a really big section sort of in the middle of the chest and right at the front where it's very, very stark white. So I haven't put any color in these sections, and I've just left them of the paper white, and then building up the colors around them will make them seem whiter. So when you're doing sort of white fur and white highlights, it's not about making them whiter or brighter, because that's really difficult to do, but it's about building up the tones and the colors around it to make it look darker. So if you feel like you need to go lighter in one section, it might just be that you need to go darker in other sections. This will really make it pop, and this is what's really tricky about realism, is about trying to get the right colors in the right places so that you have your dark and light shadows correct. This is why I prefer to start with my lighter colors and work up to the darker colors. Sometimes if there are darker sections, I'll go in and put a black or a brown down so we can sort of see where the darker sections are. But generally I usually like to start with like a warm grey 1, a warm grey 2, or cold grey 2, cold grey 1, and then build up to the darker tones using the colours and then getting darker with the browns and blacks. So you can see as well on the body there are sort of little spots, white spots. So what I've done is just done the negative space method. So I just haven't put any colour in these white spots until the very end and dulled them down a little bit. So we're just building up the colours around these spots. And when it comes to wild animals, if you don't have spots in the right place or they're a different shape, no one's going to know if they're in the wrong place or they're not 100% accurate from the reference photo. But when it comes to pet portraits and things like that, you kind of need to be a little bit more specific, because people know where their pet's markings are and it needs to be a little bit more accurate. But with this sort of thing, it doesn't really matter if they're in the wrong spot or in different places. So in the tutorial, I always talk about stepping back from your piece once you finish it and then coming back and evaluating where you need to change anything. So at the end of this one, I spent some time going back over the deer and adding a few more details in, and also went in with my pan pastels and started to darken everything up. I also started to use some of the little cotton tips to blend everything down, because they just work so well and it helps you get really close up against the deer. So I really hope that you like this video. Remember to like and subscribe. I would love to see your attempt at this one on Patreon. Have a good Christmas and New Year. Keep drawing, guys. Bye.